Hi, this is for the 2017 Coachmen Freelander walkthrough. We'll start in the back here. There is a ladder to get up on the roof, but you're not allowed up on the roof. There's no need to get up on the roof. There's a backup camera right up there at the top. When you're in reverse, it automatically comes on. But when we get inside on the dash, I'll show you how you can put it on manually so it's on while you're driving so you can see what's behind you. There is a tow hitch. It is extra to tow. There is a lock on it. So if you have a bike rack that goes into the hitch, you'll need to bring it with you so it can be locked on. Have access to the tow. To the hitch is extra. Working our way over here is the largest compartment here. So inside here, there is a table. You can welcome to use that while you're camping, but the purpose of this table is because people were putting heavy stuff in this compartment and it was sagging this down, so that just helps add its stability there. Okay, you'll find a couple hoses in here. There's a black one, this blue one, and then this white one. Very careful, important not to mix up the hoses. This will be for to fill up the fresh water tank and to be connected to the city water, which is the connections are over here. This is the city water connection, and then this is the fresh water tank. If you're camping and you have the hookups, the water, the sewer, electrical, you'll be hooked into the city. You have to use this pressure reducer here, because sometimes city pressure can be too powerful and you can cause damage to the plumbing inside. So you have to have that on. If you're going to just fill up the fresh tank, you don't need this pressure reducer on there. In fact, it'd take too long. There's nothing to worry about, too much pressure going into that tank. These other hoses here, this blue hose here is just to use as an extra hose, like to clean yourself off or whatnot. There should be, it's harder for me to keep this in stock, but the little splitter. So if you're at a campsite and you have the water spigot there, usually I have a little splitter. If there's not one in the unit, it's a smart idea to pick one up. That way you can split the hoses, and so you don't have to disconnect the city hose to hook up a water hose to wash yourself off. So that's really good to have. This black hose is black for a reason. That's to clean the sewer hose out. So very important not to get this mixed up with any of the drinking hose or anything like that. That I'll show you in a minute too. That black hose will also be used as a black tank flush, which is right here. Okay, so here is the sewer connection. Over on the other side, when we get over on that other side, I'll show you the sewer hose. Basically just a long hose with an elbow. The elbow goes into the ground, the other end just twisted on there. Back to the idea, if you're dry camping, it's also called boondocking. That means you don't have the hookups. You don't have water, sewer, any of that. So what you do at that point is you're camping, you just keep an eye on the tanks, obviously make sure they don't get too full, and then when it's time to empty them, you go to a location like a gas station. You know, there's some gas stations around that have it. In fact, there might even be something you could Google, which gas stations have RV dumps. But it needs to come back to me empty. But there's readouts showing you where the levels are, and we'll get to that when we're inside. But basically the hose just goes in there, locks on, and then when it's time to dump, if you're dry camping and you're at a gas station or a dump site, the idea is to pull the black one first, which is right here, and then the gray one. The idea of that is so that the gray, the sink, so the gray is the sink and the showers, and the black is the toilet. The idea to pull that second is to flush, to clean the hoses out. And so if you're at a campsite and you have the hookups, that hose is just running on the ground and into the ground. There's even a thing in there I'll show you where a graduated like an accordion style thing, so the hose just isn't running flat. It has a gradual slope. But when you're at a campsite with the hookups, you're just into the ground and you just pull them both and leave them open, and at that point it's like a house. Before you put the hose away, if you can remember to hook this black hose up to this black tank flush, and then you turn on the water, and what that does is it goes in there and cleans and flushes out the black tank. And then when you've flushed it out for a good minute or two, you can put the hose away. And before you do that, you'll need to rinse out the hose really well. And I recommend bringing some large kitchen bags and even some disposable plastic gloves. Gas tank, it just takes regular gas. Kind of torn on which gas is the best. Early on, I was told that you get the cheapest stuff because the generator also runs off of the same gas tank, and it likes the cheaper stuff. But then again, I've also, I've talked to other people who say you want the better gas if you want your engine to perform better. This is just a connection for the TV. Sometimes they're a little sticky, but that's a lot of campsites have by the power pedestal, they have the place to plug in a coaxial cable for television, for their cable TV. This is just the vent for the water heater. Don't need to worry about anything in there. It gets hot, you don't want to block it. Then here is the power cord. You bring it in over here so I can show you inside there. This plug right here, I would say it's about 20 feet, and then every campsite is going to have a plug like that. Now, if you're in a place that, like this house for instance, there's just a normal standard outlet. I have an adapter, and I'll show you that next. So an adapter to a normal standard outlet, and also there's a 50-foot extension cord. But what you do is you just, when it's time to put it away, you just push it on and back in there, but it has to be plugged in on itself. And sometimes it's back there and it's a little awkward position. But even if it's not, if it's cocked a little bit, the generator will not power anything inside there if it's not plugged in on itself. And sometimes it can be cocked a little bit, so you want to make sure it's nice and flush and tight against there. Otherwise the generator will not power anything. Here's the generator here. There's a push button start inside. I'll show you that. If you had to, you could start it from out here. You can take that cover off and start it. This is the exhaust for the generator. I would advise not to have windows, especially this window here, open if you're camping and you got the generator running. Well, let me show you the keys as well. Most of these have locks. The generator one doesn't, the propane one doesn't, but this little silver key is the locks for all these compartments. I wouldn't trust these latches. When you're driving and traveling, I would make sure that these are locked. And they're all one way, except for a few are just the opposite way, just to make you mad. And here is the adapter I was talking about for the power cord. See that? And it goes in there, and then it just makes a normal outlet, normal plug. And then there's a 50-foot extension cord there. Back to the keys while I'm thinking about it. Forward, obviously, that's for the engine, for the chassis, and then it is keyless entry. And then I'll show you when we get over the door to go into the coach. That's the deadbolt, and that's the door lock. Propane here, the levels need to come back where they are when you took it. Most of the time that is full. But you go to a gas station that sells propane or wherever, and they have to do it. A licensed technician has to do that for you if you want it. This unit has been clipped a few times. It's always in the back. It is the tail. It is a dog wagging the tail. It's so long that it sways quite a bit. So these mirrors are your best friend. This little mirror here, you can see your tail end really well, and the mirror itself. You always watch those like a hawk. The tires, I am really anal about the tires. Get them rotated. I'm always checking the pressure. The pressure is written on the door what they should be at, and I got a pressure gauge that you can use to check that. I'd recommend checking that every so often when you fill up, just like checking the oil when you fill up. But it's not great to have a blowout, obviously, but it's automatic roadside assistance. there's not a spare. Even if there was a spare, you wouldn't be able to change it yourself. This thing is way too heavy. But not only that, if you have a blowout, it can cause a lot of damage. That the tread can start whipping around there and break fiberglass, rip out wiring, and things like that. When it comes to the windshield, you sign that paper. You'll sign that paper that says that if you get a chip, you got to get that fixed before it gets bigger than it's like a silver dollar. Otherwise, we're looking at a new windshield, which is about 300 bucks. Moving on over to this side. This compartment here is just, oh, this one's locked. There's a television in the master bedroom that you can bring out here, and it can just lock into here, so you can have TV out here. And it also has the cable and the power there. There's some coaxial cable there. And I'll show you that television that's in there that you can bring out here and use it that way. Okay, in this compartment are the levelers. This unit doesn't have a self-leveling system. You have to manually level it. You drive up on things to level it, or you can also dig a hole. There's not a shovel, so the easiest way to do it is just to drive up on things. It's very important to get it level for a couple reasons. The slide outs, there's 2 slide outs on this unit, and if it's not level, it's really hard on those slide outs, and they're very expensive, those motors. It's a lot of torque when it's not level, pushing those in and out. The other thing is a fridge does not like to run, and it's hard on a fridge to run when it's not level. So it's very important to level. Not only that, when you're camping, you want to be able to sleep in a position that's level. There is a level in this next compartment I'll show you. There is some levels on the unit, but I trust the level a little bit better than the levels that are stuck on this unit. The easiest way by far is you drive up on this thing like this, or even this. So if your front tires are low, you just put these in front of the front tires and drive up on it. Same thing with this guy. You just drive up on it. With this one, you chalk it. But you notice these only get you so high. You know, it's only going to get you about this high. If you got to go higher than that, which is kind of uncommon, we have these things right here that I almost refer to them as like just giant Legos. You just can start stacking these on top of each other, and there's enough of them that you can build them higher than these guys, and that way you can get higher if you needed to. Okay. And here is some tools. There's the little level I was talking about. I just put it on the side, and then also you got to do it on the back. Make sure it's level, you know, on the side, and this way and that way. This is the little level. There's one in the back, but you can see it's a little wobbly, so this is probably the better option. And then here's some tools: flashlight, saw, WD-40s, and wrenches and things of that nature. That's just solar. This thing is wired for solar. We don't have solar panels. This is just outlets. This is the vent for the furnace. Don't block that, it gets hot. Same here, fridge, the vent for the fridge. You don't want to block it. The awning is right here. That you're unable to use that. Insurance does not cover the awning, so I make that unavailable to be able to use that. In here I keep the sewer hose. This is that accordion thing I was talking about when I was pointing out the sewer. So these are really handy to have. So your sewer hose just doesn't lay flat on the ground. You can stretch this guy out, so it's more of a gradual slope. And also the sewer hose that's in here, it's in the bag, but it's probably like 10 feet long. With an elbow that goes in the ground. There's some rubber gloves. Like I said, I highly recommend bringing extra kitchen bags and some rubber gloves. I store it in here. A lot of times RVs, the sewer hose is stored in the bumper, and I used to do that as well, but I couldn't stop it from rusting out my bumper, so I just dedicated this little compartment for the sewer hose. This is the last compartment here. It actually extends all the way through, so if you had something really long, you could fit it through here. Here's a rug. You'll want to put a rug down, especially if you're at a sandy location, to keep sand and whatever from tracking in. There are some other items in here, like a saw, and even in the back, I forgot to point out some camping chairs in there. We usually like to keep stocked for you, and there's also some extension cords under there as well. Okay, that is the walkthrough of the outside. Now we'll move inside.